Hey everybody, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel, your easy listening info source for all creatures great and small in Dungeons & Dragons. Today, a Demon Lord. This one is thanks to a request from Keith. Good choice, Keith. The Demon Lord Tsathogga, the Frog God, an epic level threat and a challenge rating 30 creature. And all on his lonesome, which again, you'll pretty much never get into a group versus solo monster fight with something like this, of this caliber. This massive creature appears to be a gigantic demon frog, and you're going to have to forgive me for borrowing a lot of imagery from Warhammer 40k, because basically Nurgle is perfect for this sort of video, so I know that I'm taking a lot of creative license, and I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but I hope you understand that I'm just trying to do the best with limited footage. So the gigantic demon frog, 60 feet long, hulk, its body is covered in warts, boils and putrid sores, and each oozes thick, sticky, yellowish mucus. Its eyes are red, surrounded by puffy and oozing eyelids and they glow with an ancient, malevolent evil. The creature's massive mouth is crammed with multiple rows of jagged teeth, each at least as long as a sword blade. Far from as ponderous as it first appears, Tsathogga can move faster than most humanoids can run, with a 40-foot movement rate on land and 20-foot swimming speed in water. The evil eyes of Tsathogga see through darkness to 60 feet. It has permanent true sight and can see right through any darkness that it creates. It is worshipped as a god by many evil creatures, most notably a lot of evil amphibians. As you would imagine, this includes grung, bullywugs, slardy, evil water monsters, Sothar, aberrations, the Violet Brotherhood cult, and depraved fossickers in forbidden texts, mainly because the forms of the rites and ceremonies of Tsathogga are so sick and perverse, I simply can't describe them publicly, and frankly, I'm not interested in speculating on them privately either. Gross, horrific, sad, terrible, nauseating, perverted, evil, merciless, cruel, deeply profane. Even a whisper of some of these practices would cause a good-hearted paladin to immediately hunt down and brutally murder anyone perpetrating such terrible crimes. Making his home on the plain of Tartarus at the mouth of the vast swamp of the filth deposited by the river Styx as it flows out of the abyss, Tsathogga's main form is a colossally bloated humanoid frog with spindly elongated limbs and fingers. His corpulent body exudes all manner of foul humours and fluids that leak into the vile swamp in which he lies. He has positioned himself so that all of the slime and filth from the river Styx feeds into his gaping maw, his gaping toothy maw. He never moves and rarely speaks other than to emit an unintelligible shrieking. A fairly vast host of evil creatures swarm around him constantly, though at this proximity his lethal presence is deadly to anything but aberrations and his own spawned wraith, the Sothar, who resemble upright humanoid frogs with greyish flesh and reddish gold eyes. The humanoid arms end in wicked claws. They use short, wickedly barbed spears and kukri-style daggers and nets, and wear frog leather armour. Unless whipped into more organised mobs, they simply charge foes in a berserk maniacal fury. Sothar are sexless, reproducing by injecting eggs into living hosts, similar to Slardy. And an egg can be implanted only into a helpless host creature, and the host must be of small size or larger. Giant frogs, bred for this very purpose, are the most common host. Implanting an egg requires 1 minute to perform, and accompanying the egg, it is anesthetizing poison that causes the host to fall unconscious for a 2-week gestation period of the egg, which is very rapid. Unless they make a saving throw to fight it off and seek out immediate remove disease spell, or some person with proficiency in tools manages to surgically remove the eggs, they will hatch and the Sothar will burst out of the host, killing it instantly in the process. Because Sothar continually cover themselves with muck and slime, they're very difficult to grapple. Webs, magic or otherwise, do not affect the Sothar. They usually just wriggle free from most other forms of confinement and entanglement. They are also incredible jumpers, able to leap 10 feet straight up from a standing start and cover 30 feet across with a short running leap. They can also make an immediate melee attack when they land right next to an opponent, because the leap just counts as a movement rate. They occupy most of the time hunting down sacrifices to Tsathogga and using some of that grim harvest as the victims of their foul breeding pits. The priests and clerics of their race are quite capable of summoning a host of demons, And all Sothar can speak Abyssal and their own language, which few outside their race care to learn. Their clerics have access to the domains of evil, water, catastrophe, chaos, destruction, disease, and of course, their Frog Lord grants them access and limited powers over lesser demons. Those who live outside of Tartarus will generally always flock to the most fetid swamps and vile dark places underground. You should be able to smell them long before you run across them, but then again, they will have smelt you coming as well. They can see perfectly well out to 90 feet in pitch black darkness, and they shun any sort of light. So they will seek to douse sources of light with gobs of black slime spat onto torches or smothering lamps. They are not small either. They stand about 6 feet tall and weigh between 300 and 350 pounds. So yeah, very dangerous in swarming mobs. It is rumoured that an evil cult of Tsathogga worships him in the material plane. Devout followers of Tsathogga are called Lords of the Gaping Maw and must sign a pact of evil with Tsathogga himself. Lords of the Gaping Maw receive spells from Tsathogga and are granted access to two of the following domains: chaos, destruction, evil, or water. What this pact entails, though, of course, is vile acts of depravity and filth, the spreading of disease and decay. So Tsathogga cares very little, if anything, for the worship of other creatures. Even its own spawned race are only as good as the number of sacrifices they can supply. Otherwise, they're also on the menu. He cares even less about the goings-on of mortals and powers that he does about his obliterating light and life in a slow, oozing sickness and decay that he spreads through the multiverse. He is a direct manifestation of the vicious, dark evil bubbling up from beneath the surface, the foul corruption at the heart of the cancerous abyss. He is the noxious villainy of disease and decay, striking down the young and the old without mercy, tarnishing and rotting all beauty and vitality in the world, and feeding voraciously on the filth and muck that remains. His physical form constantly oozes acid, simply dissolving unprotected weapons used against him. He can breathe cones of acid as a spray or cones of cold as well. 3 times per day, Tsathogga can unleash a piercing croak that affects all non-evil creatures within about 100-foot radius, as if by a contagion spell cast by a level 20 person cleric. It used to be it was another type of spell, but we don't have that in 5th edition, so skip. As a free action, he can billow forth a thick, dark fog from his skin. This fog spreads out to fill a 50-foot radius, 50-foot high zone. The darkness generated by the cloud nullifies any non-magical lights and magical lights of 5th level or lower within the area, so most light spells tend to just wink out. Furthermore, all creatures in the area gain concealment, including those that can normally see in such darkness. Though Tsathogga is able to see normally in it, he can see through his own darkness. Light descriptor spells of 5th level or lower, such as daylight, dancing lights, and light, are incapable of brightening the area. It just doesn't work. This cloud remains for 10 minutes before dispersing. A strong wind of 21 plus miles per hour disperses the cloud in 4 rounds. A severe wind of about 31 miles per hour or faster disperses the cloud in 1 round. Tsathogga cannot use this ability underwater, obviously. Once the cloud disperses, he can issue a new one when he desires. Tsathogga is, as I said, he's 60 feet long, he's 40 feet tall, he weighs around 200 tons, so he's huge, and prefers to avoid direct combat because he would rather continue feeding on muck. He really enjoys it. If threatened or attacked, he usually summons his minions to battle his opponents for him. If Tsathogga does enter combat, he almost always begins by striking the nearest opponent with his tongue, which has a 40-foot reach, pulling the foe in and swallowing them whole. If he is near the muck and filth that permeates his home plane, he likes to dive or bury himself underneath it. So if swallowed, an opponent might manage to cut their way out of Tsathogga's gullet, but he'll still drown or suffocate before he sees daylight again because he's buried in muck and he doesn't know which way is up and down. So, very nasty, very nasty. Those within 20 feet will also be subject to evisceration by his long, spindly arms and the wicked claws that grow like scythes from his webbed fingers. And of course, they are loaded with disease. He also has an impressive array of spell magic he can use. He is a demon lord, after all, including the ability to summon a lot of different kinds of oozes and demons. Thousands of fawning Tsathogga servants continuously bathe his body in fetid slime from the evil swamp, awaiting the divine bliss of being randomly devoured by him. His hatred of light and lack of human worshippers, though there are a few notable exceptions, mean that he is little known to most surface races, and he has had few organised centres of worship and no standardised holy symbol, each worshipper choosing his own way to best depict his deific vileness. Occasionally, priests of Tsathogga on Tartarus sculpt a small likeness of him out of foul chunks of solid waste from the sticks that harden into a vile green substance similar to soapstone. When taken from that plane, these items are prized as holy relics and violently putrid, spawning virulent diseases into waterways, rotting any food that comes near it, inflicting rashes and boils to exposed skins, causing tooth decay, eye infections, foul breath, body odour, parasitic fungus infections, plagues of flies that lay their eggs in the open wounds of living creatures. They're just nasty. They're corruption incarnate. Rivers become choked with dead fish and rotting weeds in his sort of presence. The rain is smeared with slime and animals become sick, erratic, rabid and infectious. To fight an incursion of Tsathogga cultists, or even fight your way to the putrid heart of their wicked lairs, heroes need to stock up on holy water, scrolls of cure disease, salves, bandages, bottles of rubbing alcohol, flagons of rubbing alcohol, and bunches of herbs wrapped in cloth that they can tie around their face to prevent the worst of the horrific stench and the airborne disease. The heroes who may face grim reminders of their encounters with the power of Tsathogga in the form of lingering athlete's foot, ringworm, halitosis, scars on their skin, and lingering hacking coughs, a lack of appetite, aversion to cheese and jellied meats, for obvious reasons. You may even avoid particularly yeasty beer or yogurt. It may take them years to get over some of the sights that they will be exposed to in the lair of Tsathogga, and they may even refuse to speak of it for many years more. Tsathogga is not concerned with the politics of the abyss, such as it is. He spends the vast majority of his time on Tartarus anyway, having found the perfect environment for his grotesque appetites and his cavorting followers. Were he to return to the abyss at any time, he dwells on the layers closer to Obox Ob than most other demons care to, feeding greedily on the aftermath of the Prince of Vermin, as he burrows further slowly through the planes of the multiverse, continuing to spread the evil corruption of the abyss. So, he's tight with Obox Ob. Jubilex, the Faceless Lord, is another demon lord who is heavily focused on the destruction of all that is. So Tsathogga is about as close to an ally as a demon lord can have, but that doesn't really mean much other than they won't immediately try to attack each other on sight, as both will be busy feasting on the leavings of their original master, Obox Ob, the original demon prince. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little spotlight of one of the more unpleasant demon lords and minor gods of the despicable races. Certainly a Lord of Ruin, and a bit of a shout out to the lovers of 3rd edition D&D and Paizo, and some great independent publishers including Fog Games. Big shout out to you guys. Thanks for listening everybody. I'll be back again with another Monster Ecology video soon.